Yo, yeah, that's B-Eazy, that's the name. Way before the world knew he was running the game. Laid the groundwork, built the foundation strong. Been influencing the whole scene all along. Now everybody gotta give that man his praise. A living legend for the rest of his days. Oh, he deserves all the accolades, yeah. B-Eazy, B-Eazy, gotta give that man his praise. A living legend for the rest of his days. Oh, he deserves all the accolades. B-Eazy. B-Eazy. He got that certain kind of profile, smooth and effortless style. He's so fresh, makes the whole room stop and stare a while. Hear him asking, who's that? Mama, there he goes again. The way he moves, you know he's gonna win. Oh, you ain't know? That's just B-Eazy. B-Eazy Dat Dude. That man right there. B-Eazy.
B-Eazy Dat Dude. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. Big block engine with 26 inches on the chrome I ride. Started at the bottom, soared to the top and still on the ride. Air handshake solid, seal the deal airtight. He gave you the blueprint to grind and get your hustle right. Money in the vision, it was dirty but he washed it clean. Turned a dollar to a dream, now he living like a king. From the late nights grinding to the early bird moves. Ask around the city, he really that dude. He love how he talk it cause he walk it too. Every step calculated, everything come through. From the hood by the views, yeah, the rooftop views. He the bridge between the struggle and the good life views. Never fold under pressure, shine like a diamond in the sun. Every loss was a lesson, every win is hard won. Now the crowd chant his name when he steps in the room. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah, you know he's the truth. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain. B-Eazy Dat Dude, yeah, they know the name. Stacking up the paper, but having money ain't a thing. Standing on business, burning hotter than a flame. From the block to the ballroom, you gotta stand the rain.
Yeah, yeah. Listen up. It's B-Eazy Dat Dude, the great. He ain't fake, he one of the real guys. Spitting fire every stream, you been late to the party, now it's time to realize. From Pittsburgh to around the world, yeah, the flow is elite. Every beat that he slide on turns into straight heat. Came up from the grind, selling box on a laptop, running up a bag, feel like he hit the jackpot. Got the luxury visions, ambition vivid, never bluff. Purses, progress, persevere when the going gets tough. B-Eazy Dat Dude, got stripes in the game. Every rhyme, every line, they gon' remember the name. From the streets to the stage, the energy don't fade. Legend in the making, yeah, history's what he's laid. Mic in his hand, heart in the flow and soul on every beat. Dropping knowledge, power, bravado, his legacy complete. Hustle amplified, lyrics electrified, that's the truth. Be-Eazy Dat Dude, established with certified proof. Feel the bass, feel the vibe, let it ride through the crowd. All the words, every hook, man, he keeps making us proud. King of his lane, rising above every feud. All hail the one and only, one and only, one and only. Be-Eazy Dat Dude. Yeah. Yeah.
He always do it big, you know who it is. B-Eazy, B-Eazy, B-Eazy Dat Dude. He on his way to the top and he ain't about to stop. You thought he would flop and didn't wanna give him props. The things you dreaming about he already did do. Now it's time to soak a game he about to give you. Like, share, follow, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to tune in when he goes live. Make a contribution if you feeling the content. Tap into the realness if you tired of the nonsense. I mean, no disrespect, ain't trying to sound rude, but the the world already knows that B-Eazy's that dude. Ooh. Hey. 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 Hey.
Turn your radios up. Turn your radios up. Y'all know what this is. Y'all know who this is. B-Eazy Dat Dude, an impromptu stream back with another one. This one is gonna be a banger. Controversial issues, so it will be a doozy. I don't like to keep y'all waiting. So before we get this thing started, you know, I gotta hit you.
If you know the song, sing along. Yeah, you're right.
私も地元民と言っても実際世代です。もう友達できたの？うん。ぶったまんまこっち見ろ。
None of your competitors better catch up like 10 steps ahead. Look, this promethazine got me leaning like a cholo. In the club, I'm 20 deep. I don't be riding solo. Pull some bad bitches, they vanilla and cocoa. They wanna take some photos when we kick it out in Soho. Chicks are showing tits and popping pussy for my promo. Told them like juvenile, baby, move it for me slow-mo. Then I'm right back to the block, cause I keep getting modo. I be flipping, not shrinking. I don't give a fuck about no ho, no ho. This nigga name ain't D-Lo, but pimpin' these bitches and stacking this bread forever be my stilo. This is B-Eazy Dat Dude in the trap making pass smooth. If I ever go broke, then I'm about to pull a jack move. Since a nigga healthy, I don't even gotta worry. With my bitch from Fiji, eating tandoori and chicken curry. That ism is really in me. My pimp game international. I design my own clothes, so I be always looking fashionable. Here's a couple facts about me that y'all didn't know. Some of y'all be getting bread, but I be getting bigger, dawg. I got bigger guns and a whole lot of bad. And we are activated, and we've been joined by at least one illustrious guest. We got none other than the exquisite, the elegant, and the enchanting Sincere Saida in the building. So salute to her. Appreciate you. The graphics, the music, that's all me. Curated by me, produced by me, written by me. Everything is all me. Oh, damn. I was about to get into it. Roger came in at the last minute, so we've got none other than the East Coast finest, Mr. Nassau County, Mr. Roger Meadows. Hey, bruh, where Brooklyn at? Roger Meadows, what it did do. And we gonna get right into this thing because, you know, it's Friday and I'm sure y'all got other things to do. But since you chose to be here with me, at least momentarily, for that, I thank you. So I'm going to get right into this thing. So let me go ahead and pull this up. Bada boom, bada bam. Could y'all see that? So a woman files a lawsuit after arrest. Now, before I get into this one. Let me pull this down and let's see why she was arrested. Because people love to make a big deal about felonies. And as soon as you get a felony, you know, people act as if, you know, you're worse than Satan incarnate, right? So this was Jennifer Combs. She was charged with a felony because they said that she allegedly, here it is right here, on May 8th, 2026, Combs was arrested in Henderson County and charged with a felony under Texas Penal Code 4206, right? And this covers a false alarm or report offenses that create public panic or unnecessary emergency response. Now, you see that they have, when you see that someone is not being punished for a crime, it's because it's at the discretion of the justice system and the law enforcement. There's a law on the book for anything, and many of these laws are written very vague, very nebulous, and they add a multitude of caveats, which is why there's a saying with the grand jury that they can indict a ham sandwich, because there will always be some sort of legal jujitsu that they'll be able to say, there's always something that they can point to. Now, this woman, she had posted videos, and this is just a prelude to the discussion and the videos that I will be playing. So when y'all think of disgusting water, many of people think of Flint. And this is why I still to this day despise the disgusting and grotesque tether in chief, Obama. The head tether in charge. He went to Flint. He pretended as if he drunk the water. And then, bruh, if you gonna pretend to drink the water, at least take a swig. If you FBA, you know what a swig is. You know what a swig is. So there's a difference between a sip and a swig. It's just like if some, you know, when you was in high school and somebody was like, hey, bruh, let me sip that. It's like, nah, bruh, you know, or you got to waterfall it. You feel me? You know, you got to hover it over the mouth and take a swig. Like, nah, nigga, I told you to take a sip, not a swig. Like those measurements matter, right? the sip and the swig, the measurements are different. That being said, the tether-in-chief Obama went to Flint and pretended to take a swig of water. No, he should have took a swig. Let me retract that. He should have took a swig, but he pretended to take a sip. Because he pretended to take the sip, he was like, hey, look, the water is fine. The water barely touched his lips, and he was like, see, nothing wrong with the water. And several years after that, the water was still contaminated. So you mean to tell me what, it was clean when he took that fake sip and then he left and then it just miraculously got contaminated? Let's just say that is the timeline. Why didn't he do anything or say anything about it? Obama has been out of office for how long? He's always going around wagging his finger at black men, but he won't talk about Flint. Interesting. Now, those are not the only places in Mississippi, many places where there are predominant black population, many places that have extreme old infrastructure, and some that suffer from white flight. They look and say, well, it's a non-white community. And if it's a predominantly or significantly black community and or significantly poor community, they say, it's cost too much money to fix. So they don't care about the value of human lives. They'd rather have people die off, and then this is why both parties support open borders, so they can bring in a new crop of people that are more destitute, more vulnerable, you know, and more grateful to accept the conditions, right? That's why they love to talk about shithole countries. And then they say the third world, but they want to bring a bunch of people over there because they can always wag their finger and say, hey, you don't want to go back to that shithole, do you? So they've socially engineered and indoctrinated Americans to just accept the conditions, right? We're paying all this money, millions and millions that they just send to random countries for anything. They sent 87 million to Pakistan for gender studies. Hundreds of billions to Israel to fight war. Meanwhile, here they'll talk about their pro-life and, this is a wide Christian nation and all this stuff. Meanwhile, the infrastructure is falling apart. And it's not just in black neighborhoods, but what happens is they let the infrastructure fall apart in the black neighborhoods and they say, so what? You niggas need to pull yourself up by your bootstrap. And then when it happens to the poor white communities, then they look around and saying, someone to help us. White mommy and daddy government, save us. It's like, bruh, you already made it easy for them to discriminate, to subjugate, to enfranchise, to destabilize. You gave them the green light. They perfected their tactics on us. We've always been the canaries in the coal mine. And you didn't care. So now when it's happening to you, now people want to kind of whine. So the context is that there's ongoing water quality issues in Trinidad, including discolored water. They have periodic boil advisories. So mind you that they said that this lady who blew the whistle, she blew the whistle about this disgusting water. And then they came to charge her with a felony because they said, oh, you're making people panic by telling them the truth. They didn't call her a liar. But they just said, okay, well, she was misleading the public, right? So we're going to get into that. So that's just a prelude to the discussion. And let me see what y'all saying in the chat. You said, did this happen down south? Yes, it happened in Texas. A sip, a swig, and a gulp. Okay. Sincere added that extra measurement. And yes, a gulp is part of the measurement. It's true, right? If somebody passing the bottle, right? Like, oh man, that's that you got a bottle of heme. Let me sip that, right? And then some people may be like, okay, bro, you didn't put in on this, but you can get a sip. But then if that sip turns into a swig and that swig turns into a gulp, come on, you didn't put in on this, man. You feel me? Like a sip, you can get a sip for free as long as it's a respectable sip. But when you start getting into the swig and gulp territory, you're going to have to drop a little some. You said he shouldn't have asked for a glass to begin with. Hey, I respect that. You said black people have been pulling themselves up by the bootstrap forever. Yes. And like the late Dr. Martin Luther King said, it's a cruel injustice to look to a bootless man to tell him to pull himself up by his bootstraps. At the same time, you're handing other people boots and straps and saying, why can't you be like them? You mean the people who you didn't lynch, who you didn't oppress, who you didn't mass incarcerate, who you didn't enslave, who you didn't grape? You mean those people? And on top of that, these same people say no such thing as a handout. They'll accept a handout, give someone else a handout and say, you niggas better not ask for a handout. You mean the handout that you've got? You said, don't be gulping. Yeah, I feel you though, because some cats do that. Like, hey, bruh, pass the bottle. Like, okay, nah, I'll pour you a little shot. I ain't passing the bottle so you can gulp. And then what happens is when you call people out, they be like, oh man, you tripping off a little bottle. If it's a little bottle, why don't you have one? And you said these people, the people you didn't create laws and ordinances against. Yeah. So let me go ahead and pull this up. This is rather insane. So I gave y'all the prelude to the discussion. So here it is now. So now the woman, because she was actually charged with a felony, and then she stood before the grand jury. So let's see. And look, could y'all see her? That's her. So if they charging people that look like this, what do you think they gonna do with people that look like me? Who are we kidding here? So hold on. So what we know, police in the city of Trinidad, located in Henderson County, around an hour southeast of Dallas. So that lets you know what part of Texas this is. So they arrested Jennifer Combs on May 8th and charged her with a felony false alarm or report. Her arrest stems from a Facebook post. Now, get you, she made a Facebook post, and this is what I always tell people, right? People be worried about other people doxing them. Sometimes your views can dox yourself. If you make controversial statements, now I understand if you said something about, hypothetically harming, some prominent public figure, I would understand if they would come to your house about that, to at least investigate. But here she is, she's blowing the whistle about the disgusting water in a local town, and they came and charged her with a felony, said that you're causing unjust panic and a false alarm. Now, think about this. This dude, Chud the Bussy Boy builder, Chud the criminal, Chud the degenerate, was running around calling black people nigger, nigger, nigger all day. He was macing people. He was pulling out guns. There's some alleged rumor that he maced a pregnant chick. He said that he wanted to lay out a chimp and that that he was going to unalive these chimps and get away with it. He was running around terrorizing the city. And it took for him to shoot somebody in front of the courthouse for him to finally get locked up. And who knows, he may still get off, right? They knew what he was doing. He was raising money off of calling us the N-word. He raised hundreds of thousands of dollars off calling us the N-word. And meanwhile, you have this lady on your screen. All she did was make a Facebook saying that, hey, the city has water issues, is leading to bacteria, and some people are getting sick. This is what she said. We have received reports that some citizens have been hospitalized due to bacteria in the water. This is a serious health concern that deserves immediate attention. If your water looks discolored, contains sediment, has a strong odor, or you have experienced related health issues, please send us a message. We are gathering information and reporting findings to the state. Now tell me what's wrong about this, right? Apparently, in the eyes of justice, this is worse than going around calling people the N-word, harassing people, warning people about the disgusting nature. So this is her right here, and I'm going to play the video, but look at this water right here. Let me know if y'all can see this. This is the water. This is image 1. This is image 2. Image 3. 4. This is the sediment left behind after the water drained. And 5. Now let's go back again. It looks like it's an advertisement. Okay, hold on. Now let's go back again. Now think about whatever city or state you're in. Now think about an affluent area, right? I'm in the Bay Area, so let's say Walnut Creek, Danville, Orinda, Moraga, San Ramon, Black Hawk. Name some other cities, right? Would they tolerate their water looking like this? Come on now. We all know the answer. And these are the same people that are talking about they're pro-life. We're all made in the image of God. Would God want his people, his children, his subjects who are created in his image to be drinking water that looks like this? And like she said, the water looks horrible. What would you do in this? You can't bathe in this. And then they put out a boil order like, hey, we recommend that you guys boil the water before any type of use or consumption. And then they ask, they want people to go get more bottled water and stuff. But if you drink this water, you saw it, all the sediment in the water, that water is going to end up inside of you, whether it's in a bottle, whether it's in your bloodstream. And you said Michigan is a CBI state for amendments. Perfect opportunity to run one for a public bank, aka infrastructure bank. H2O is part of infrastructure. Later, for waiting on politicians to do it, run it. Well, tell your boy Rome. Has Rome covered this story? But then again, this is in Texas, and I think your boy Rome is in Michigan, right? But yeah, tell your Texas people though. You said, let me tell you, the W elites don't mind getting rid of their own. Poor whites are disposable to them. They are only a pawn in their game. This is correct. I concur. Unfortunately, many of them don't see that. And all they got to do is talk about George Floyd and BLM. What about black on black crime? All they got to do is say that. And then they get all of the liberal lunatics, the MAGA morons, all riled up to, start attacking black people racially and start talking about black people's deficiencies and things like that. But I always say, okay, fine. I have a facetious argumentative tactic where I say, okay, fine, I can see that point, right? So if we're so disgusting and degenerate and low IQ and at the bottom, then what does that say about all of the whites that are failing, right? And then they start explaining and start trying to make excuses. No, but you don't understand. It's like, okay, all of those reasons and explanations that you gave for why you're failing, black people have had it 100 times worse, and you don't grant us those excuses, so I don't want to hear from you. You said a boil order. Wow, that water's full of parasites. Yeah, let's get back into it, though. But mind you, she was arrested. Actually, let me play the story right here. She was arrested because they said, oh, no, that was a false alarm. A false alarm, huh? Did y'all see that water? What was false about that? And this is what I'm saying. Like, people could run around terrorizing the black community, disenfranchising us. And it's just like, well, it just is what it is. Meanwhile, the city corrupt leaders could run the city into the ground, poison the citizens. And, no one cares because they're too busy fighting over black people. Is George Floyd the reason why that water is disgusting? Is random niggas in Oakland doing drive-bys the reason why this water looks like this? We all know the answer.
After posting health and safety concerns about a city's a woman says she was arrested after posting health and safety concerns about a city's drinking water on Facebook. It happened in Trinidad in Henderson County, southeast of Dallas. People who live there say the tap water sometimes looks and smells unsafe. When one woman shared her take on Facebook, the police department arrested her, and now she's suing. Fox 4's David Centenary is live with more.
So just to be clear, I'll be going back and forth like this with the video. So now she's suing after they arrested her. Hopefully she gets cashed out. But this is another thing, too, that people need to realize. All that stuff that you're posting, you think like, hey, this may be some under the radar, obscure post. However, they have certain buzzwords that as soon as it's posted, they're constantly monitoring it, and they may not monitor your initial post, but they may start monitoring all the subsequent posts that you have. So just be careful, in terms of, because we're already in a nanny state with mass surveillance. All of these apps are tied and connected with each other. And the ones that are not connected with each other, they work behind the scenes to wheel and deal, sell, steal, and exchange your information. And this is why some of them say, hey, we know you better than you know yourself, because they have all of your metadata and they're pumping it through the most sophisticated AI algorithm programs to basically, try to mimic what you need, and also to entice you to be so distracted, that you can't actually put up a fight against something.
From that city, David.
Yeah, well, some city leaders say there are issues with the water system and that there has been for quite some time. However, one woman's claim posted to...
And just to be clear, I have to pause, stop the video, etc. just so that I make it transformative. But I will rewind it back. So if you just heard what the dude said, he said that the city leaders admitted that the city has had water issues for quite some time. So if the city has had water issues for some time, where was the false alarm? They arrested and charged her with a felony because they said, hey, she caused too much panic for a false alarm. But what was the false alarm? The city admitted that they've consistently had water issues. Let's run that back.
Arrested her, and now she's suing. Fox 4's David Centenary is live with more from that city. David.
Yeah, well, some city leaders say there are issues with the water system and that there has been for quite some time. However, one woman's claim posted to Facebook that the water is making some people sick led to her being arrested.
Did you ever expect something like that Facebook post could get you arrested?
Not at all.
A Facebook post made by Jennifer Combs, a wife, mother, and citizen journalist, led to her arrest by Trinidad Police Department on May 8th.
Did you have to spend the night in jail?
I did.
What was that like?
Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
And you've never even had a speeding ticket?
I have not ever had a speeding ticket. It was one of the most probably humiliating things I've ever went through in my entire life. It was very, very bad.
So what was the Facebook post about? The city's water supply.
The best way I could describe it is it looks like the Trinity River is flowing from their water taps.
The post from her page Southern Belle Watch reads in part,
now y'all saw that water, right? I'm gonna run that back. Y'all saw that water, but somehow, so the city officials who were precise, look at this water, right? The city officials who were presiding over this crisis, where the water looks like yoo-hoo is coming out of the drain. These city officials weren't arrested, but the person who blows the whistle about the disgusting corruption in this town, she gets arrested, and then people still think they're free. She has the freedom of speech, right? She had the freedom of speech to post this on Facebook. She's a citizen journalist. And then when she blows the whistle on the mismanagement and the poisonous water in this town, she gets arrested and charged a felony. Now, luckily, the grand jury saw right through this crock of sugar honey iced tea and said, hey, yeah, you guys don't have enough to make this stick. The fact that they're mass surveilling people, right? And it's funny because people post all types of disgusting things on Facebook, but police are never coming to their door. You know why? Because it's distracting. It's things that are bigoted, things that are racist, things that keep up the division, but things that uplift and enlighten people, somehow those things don't get signal boosted. Even right now, this stream, I'm probably going to get some of my lowest amount of views on this stream. I have some of the lowest amount of people watching this that I've had in a while. And you know what? That's fine with me because I'm not doing this to have the greatest numbers. But if I was talking about bitches ain't shit but hoes and trick, what about black on black crime? If I'm talking about that, then suddenly the numbers go up. But when I'm talking about the corruption, when I'm talking about, you know, pretty much how your leaders of all your communities have sold you out, these topics are not as sexy and enticing to the average listener. Definitely not to, you know, the younger listener, you know what I mean? Many people want to hear some BS, you know, who is screwing who, what gang member shot this person. But, you know, none of that stuff provides any value to you. It's a form of escapism, you know, but let's get back into it, though.
Bad.
So what was the Facebook post about? The city's water supply.
The best way I could describe it is it looks like the Trinity River is flowing from their water taps.
The post from her page Southern Belle Watch reads, in part, "We have received reports that some citizens have been hospitalized due to bacteria in the water. This is a serious public health concern that deserves immediate attention. If your water looks discolored, contains sediment, has a strong odor, or you have experienced related health issues, please send us a message. We are gathering information and reporting findings to the state."
The police chief had screenshotted it and posted it on the Trinidad Police Department page.
The April 6th post by Trinidad Police calls what Combs wrote false information that creates fear, panic, or unnecessary emergency response within a community, eventually charging Combs with felony false alarm or report.
I feel like this is an extreme stretch.
So here inside Trinidad City Hall, the water looks clean, but some say it's a fluid situation depending on where you're at and when. How would you describe the city's water situation right now?
The city's water situation is a struggle, without question.
Trinidad Mayor Dennis Hawes does not dispute that they have water issues.
A lot of this stuff is original pipes that were put in here in Trinidad in the 50s, probably. We have to.
So again, where is the lie? What year is it again? It's 2026. And he just said a lot of those pipes were put in the 50s. Okay. What have you guys been doing this whole time? So when she blows the whistle, they're saying that, oh, you're causing panic. And then they talk to the mayor and they talk to the city officials and they confirm what's true. These pipes are old. The pipes are rusted. Do you think that's by 1950 and 2026, you think that they haven't found a way to be more efficient with the water delivery system? I think they would. The only thing is there's not a profit motive to tear up these pipes and rebuild them, right? They always want to look at like who's going to pay for it. But if it's in an affluent neighborhood, they don't care. They always find a way to pay for it. But, you know, if you're in a particular zip code, then they say, well, you know, those are not the next Harvard graduates. So, you know, let them eat cake. Let them deal with this type of water.
Describe the city's water situation right now.
The city's water situation is a struggle, without question.
Trinidad Mayor.
It's a struggle without question. So again, why did they say it was a false alarm? And if it's a struggle without question, what are the solutions? No, seriously, what are the solutions? Because the people who are bringing awareness to it, they lock them up and want to charge them with a felony. If they've had the same pipe since 1950, have they been trying to change the pipes, or are they only talking about this issue because of this Facebook post, because they've known about it for how long? But what have they done about it? I don't think we'll get an answer to these questions.
Stretch.
So here inside Trinidad City Hall, the water looks clean, but some say it's a fluid situation depending on where you're at and when. How would you describe the city's water situation right now?
The city's water situation is a struggle, without question.
Trinidad Mayor Dennis Hawes does not dispute that they have water issues.
A lot of this stuff is original pipes that were put in here in Trinidad in the 50s, probably. We have to get to a position where we can fix that infrastructure, and it's very expensive, as I'm sure you can imagine.
On Wednesday, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality confirmed to Fox.
Did you guys hear any solutions? We just got to fix the infrastructure. Stevie Wonder could see that you need to fix the infrastructure. How are you going to do it? You guys are trying to bury this story and act like it didn't exist. Now, when it blows up, then you saying, yeah, we need to fix the infrastructure. Why would they need to fix the infrastructure if everything was fine? On one hand, they're saying, oh, it's a false alarm. Everything is fine. But yeah, we've had water issues for quite some time now. Which one is it? Did you hear any solutions? All you heard is we need to do this. It's just like a team. We need to score a touchdown. Man, we really need to get in the end zone. We need to score a touchdown. Okay, we know that you need to score a touchdown. What the heck are you doing to try to get in the end zone? What plays are you running? Are you going to hand the ball off? Are you going to throw a Hail Mary? What are you going to do to get in the end zone? And that's all they do. Yeah, man, we need to change the infrastructure. We need to change the infrastructure. Yeah, look at this water. You've guys known that you needed to do this for some time. What the hell is being done about it? But again, you won't get that answer. You know why? Because they're too busy locking up people for Facebook posts. They locked up someone for exposing this disgusting water that you see on the screen. However, no city officials who have been presiding over this mess, they have a Texas Commission of Environmental Quality. Does this water look like quality to you? Why aren't heads rolling? Why is no one being fired? Why is no one who's part of this environmental quality control been given a felony? The person who makes a Facebook post about the disgusting water, felony. The people who mismanage so that the people only have this water flowing through their pipes, no felony. Make it make sense.
Struggle without question.
Trinidad Mayor Dennis Hawes does not dispute that they have water issues.
A lot of this stuff is original pipes that were put in here in Trinidad in the 50s, probably. We have to get to a position where we can fix that infrastructure, and it's very expensive, as I'm sure you can imagine.
On Wednesday, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality confirmed to Fox 4 that it received a complaint regarding the water quality and an investigation is ongoing. It's unclear whether anyone has gotten sick from the water.
I've seen some Facebook posts where people have said they have gotten sick, but to me personally, I haven't heard anything.
In a post on May 10th, Trinidad Police Chief Charles Gregory doubled down on his decision to arrest Combs, calling the case cut and dry. He says claims citizens were hospitalized due to bacteria in the water are simply false and have only caused unnecessary fear and confusion in our community.
I really haven't seen anything like this before, David.
SMU constitutional law professor Dale Carpenter questions if a crime was committed and believes Combs's First Amendment rights may have been violated, even if it turns out Combs's post was inaccurate.
She's making a statement regarding a matter of great public interest, and so people sometimes make false statements on matters of great public interest, and they're allowed to do so. If we prosecuted and arrested everybody who made such claims, our jails would be overfilled.
Chief Gregory was not at Tuesday's council meeting, but the water issue was a topic of conversation.
The reason why everyone is here and the reason why Fox 4 is here is because your city is acting like tyrants.
Combs stands behind her post, and in a federal lawsuit filed Tuesday, she accuses the police chief of political retaliation related to her work as a citizen journalist. She claims multiple citizens made social media posts stating that they had personally been hospitalized or affected as a result of consuming the city's water.
So it looks like we've been joined by a couple illustrious guests, Tay-Bay, and Frank Nitty, Mr. Gritty, putting on for the biddy. Salute to y'all. And I also want to encourage more people to do their own level of citizen journalism. You don't have to be a renowned or trained journalist. Sometimes, you know, if you got one of those good phones that shoots 4K, 8K video, sometimes you can just record, you know, and make sure that you get the footage to a reputable journalist, right? So they may not be, able to cover a California story, but if you're able to film, if you're able to report, because many of these stories, we have to rely on the mainstream, lamestream media, and they're about infotainment, giving you information in an entertaining way, but not necessarily giving you the cut and dry facts. They also lie by omission in many instances. And they curate the stories in a way to sensationalize it, more so to give you a substantive account of actually what's going on. Now, occasionally they will do that because they have the skills to do that. They've been trained to do that. But more than likely, they won't do that because they're not there to push back against power. They're not there to challenge the oligarchy. They're there to have you arguing over frivolous things and picking a side and getting grounded into partisanship so that you won't even talk to your neighbor because they voted for Biden or Trump or something like that, right? But all of those people that are on these CNN panels, Fox News panels, they're arguing back and forth, getting heated. That's why when you see all of these debates, the ones that get the most clickbait, so-and-so in a heated debate, so-and-so exposes this person, that person gets wrecked, that person gets owned, so-and-so gets obliterated in a debate, right? People like that. They think it's funny, but that's what people kind of click on, you know? That's why there's a saying, if it bleeds, it leads. As much as people want to try to pretend they're these Bible thumpers, Christian, staying on the straight and narrow, right? Why is there something called rubbernecking? Think about this, right? If there's an accident, what good has come from the accident? Usually someone's car is totaled. Maybe there's a body. Maybe there's some limbs. That's not something you should want to look. You should want to keep your head straight, looking ahead of you. But is that what people do? When there's a massive accident on the side of the road, they tell you not to look. Don't rubberneck. Keep your head straight. But is that what people do? What good could you see over there? Somebody with a totaled car. Is that good? Somebody that may have been in a fatal accident. Is that good? What is good about the accidents that you're rubbernecking to see? Nothing. But that's what you want to see, you know what I mean? And that's how people are, right? They want to see a lot of the toxic stuff all these times, right? The same people that talk about crime, like, why are you fixated on crime so much? All the stuff that you can talk about, but your narrative just keeps being surrounded around crime. Same way as these manosphere, coonospheres, that it's always surrounded around OnlyFans, hoes, and thoughts. Like, bro, why are you constantly talking about hoes and thoughts? Unless you're around a bunch of hoes and thoughts, unless you're obsessed with them. Otherwise, why would you be talking about them, right? So all of the negative things that people talk about, that's what you want. So I don't get why people are complaining about it. The community, the crime in the community. Like, what have you done about it? You've made a podcast to whine about crime in the community. Meanwhile, crime still persists. Do you think you making a podcast is going to do anything? No, because you don't really want anything to change, because then you'd have to stop whining about the conditions. You know what I mean? The conditions would be, you know, ripe for success and progress. So you wouldn't have any crime narratives to whine about. You said endless debates ties up your time and energy from taking action to come up a solution. It's a CIA tactic. Yeah, and this is what I'm trying to say. That's why you see people with the same stuff. Should women submit? What about black on black crime? Fatherless homes? Socialism? Capitalism? Capitalism versus communism? Communism versus Marxism? It's like these endless debates that like really go nowhere. And often the times they're not solutions. It's just someone is trying to win the debate. So it can say Roger owns someone in a debate, right? And then you gather all of this audience, and then you get like 1,000 people watching you, 2,000 people watching you, and you don't direct that energy towards anything meaningful. It's just like, tune into my next debate so I can obliterate someone else. Obliterate somebody about an issue that doesn't even affect them. People will have a 3-hour debate about trans bathrooms. Should trans compete in sports? And then I'm looking like, okay, how many trans people actually competed in your local state? Well, there were two people out of tens of millions. So they make the issue much bigger than it is, because if you're arguing about should trans compete in sports, you're not thinking about interest rates and the cost of gas and Another thing they like to do with the economy too, they're like, the price of eggs are so much. Like, when you're trying to afford something, are you really thinking about eggs? You have your cell phone to pay. You have your utility bills to pay. You have your car note. You have your insurance to pay. But you notice how these talking heads, they always try to talk about the cost of eggs. And let's just say that you got eggs at a fair price. You got eggs at $1.99 or whatever you consider a fair price for eggs. Let's just say $1.29. Okay, fine. You got some cheap eggs. You got some cheap eggs, but your gas ain't cheap. Your rent isn't cheap. You can't afford a house. You can't afford health insurance. But hey, you got some cheap eggs. And these are the narratives that the mainstream, lamestream media likes to say. So I implore all of y'all to, step y'all citizen journalism game up. You don't even have to be well trained. You're trained in how to use your camera, right? You always taking selfies. Flip that camera off of you and start recording some of the action. But don't just be recording the action when you need to get into action, right? Because there are some times where people, they just record the footage and then they don't do nothing. They'll see somebody getting unalived on camera. Oh my God, this is so sad. Look at it, y'all. It's in 4K. It's like, why the fuck are you filming this person? The dude is getting stabbed to death, hypothetically, in this scenario. And instead of intervening, you're filming it to say, oh, that was sad. Like, you could have hung up and called. You could have intervened, but it's like you weren't scared to film and record this person and get their face, but you're scared to jump in. So it's just a lot of mess going on. People have their phones already. Use those phones for better, right? So let me pull this back up. So that was a bit of harangue. It was about citizen journalism, but I kind of went all over the place, but y'all feel me. So I only got a couple more minutes of this video, and then I'm going to transition. And I won't be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time.
Combs stands behind her post, and in a federal lawsuit filed Tuesday, she accuses the police chief of political retaliation related to her work as a citizen journalist. She claims multiple citizens made social media posts stating that they had personally been hospitalized or affected as a result of consuming the city's water.
I don't agree and don't think it's fair that the citizens pay for water they can't really use.
The lawsuit adds, speech about the safety of a community's drinking water is a quintessential matter of public concern entitled to the highest degree of First Amendment protection.
There's people saying that their appliances are getting ruined. They can't.
Now look at this water on the screen. That looks like some foamy beer or some foamy piss. Now, mind you, this is what's happening in a non-Black community. We've already seen this in Black communities, and people didn't care because they thought, oh, well, that's what those niggas get. Now this is happening in white communities. It's always happened in white communities. What they do to us in the morning, they won't even wait till the evening to do it to you. They'll be doing the same thing to you in the afternoon. This is why we've always been the canaries in the coal mine. And this is why Dave Chappelle had that skit a couple years ago when he was talking about the white guys talking about, I can't feed my family. I can't find a job. All the stuff that Black people were saying. And they were saying, shut up, you nignog. Quit complaining. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Oh, do you want to go back to Africa and live in a mud hut? These were all the things that they were saying to us. Now they're turning around and saying they can't find a job. They can't feed their family. And then all they have to do is blame George Floyd, BLM, and of course their favorite one. It's the G. It's like, okay. Also, if it was allegedly, because you have to rule out the Black people. You said the Black people were too poor and too dumb and too powerless. But, that chosen group that they speak of, they're not dumb and they're not powerless, right? And what racial demographic are those people that they're talking about? Suddenly people want to try to play these semantic games and get confused, right? No, don't tell me what religion they are. Don't tell me their ethnicity. What racial makeup are these people that they say is running everything? And if that's the case, why do you spend most of your time attacking black people? But I just want you to see, like, these are the whole America First pro-life people. They don't give a flying fig Newton about the people's lives in this town and this Lily W town. So what do you think they care about black people?
The safety of a community's drinking water is a quintessential matter of public concern entitled to the highest degree of First Amendment.
And that's going to transition. I only got 1 minute left. And like you said, Sincere, the permanent slave class is going to transition right to my next story, because capitalism is like a diet version of feudalism. The default position is feudalism, where there's kings, queens, nobles, lords, and everyone else is a peasant. All of these movies that they love to make, the Game of Thrones and the types of movies that you get enamored with, they do want that back, right? You know, where it's you're run by the Starks and the Lannisters, and then, you know, there's the appointed lords and nobles, and everyone else under that is a peasant. With the capitalism created the middle class, and all the middle class was just a buffer class between, you know, the poors and the peasants. So basically the middle class under the feudalistic system, the middle class would still be peasants. But all capitalism did was gave, you know, society a little bit more illusion of inclusion, right? But what they give you too much powers or privileges is what they perceive, then they got to take it back in some type of way, you know, with the Voting Rights Act and all this other type of stuff. They'll discriminate on you against race, and then they'll say, no, you can't repair people based on race, right? You know what I mean? They can say, hey, shoot those blacks over there, hey, RAPE those blacks over there, but then when it's time to get justice, hey, we can't give justice to the blacks because that will be, you know, race-based, you know what I mean? So they did all sorts of ways to cement, you know, the certain slave class and the servitude class, because slavery is still legal. It never actually stopped being legal. And this is why words have meanings, and you have to look at things in its complete context. Don't just, you know, read one part of a definition. But let me finish this video. I think it's only like 1 minute left.
Amendment protection.
There's people saying that their appliances are getting ruined. They can't cook with the water. They can't bathe with it. They can't do laundry. A lot of them feel hushed and like they don't have a agree and don't think it's fair that the citizens pay for water they can't really use.
The lawsuit adds, speech about the safety of a community's drinking water is a quintessential matter of public concern entitled to the highest degree of First Amendment protection.
There's people saying that their appliances are getting ruined. They can't cook with the water. They can't bathe with it. They can't do laundry. A lot of them feel hushed and like they don't have a voice, and no one listens to them and no one takes them seriously.
The police chief has not responded to a list of questions we sent over to him via email.
Well, this is a question that we have always asked. It's just unfortunately many of us have stopped asking it because we've been convinced that, hey, because there's no signs that say no nigs allowed, and because you don't see a dog being sicked on someone, you don't see a hose. So unfortunately, this is what it takes. We, as a society, we needed Trump to get back in office. Not because I support Trump, because I don't support Trump, Biden, Kamala, Obama, none of them, right? But unfortunately, people don't learn until something is taken away. That's why they say you don't know what you got until it's gone, right? So once rights start being stripped away, once certain things that you took for granted start being stripped away, or you see the possibility of them being stripped away, then you start to value it more. But if that means that's what it took for you to start valuing it more, that means you got complacent. That means that you took your eye off the ball. And that's what many people have done with the whole vote blue no matter who, the lesser of two evils. You know what I mean? So when you say the lesser of two evils and you're voting for the lesser of two evils, what you're saying is you're okay with voting for evil. It's just you're voting for the lesser version of it. Think of it like this. If there's two people running and those two people are evil pedos, one person touched 50 kids, hypothetically, and another person touched 48 kids. Would you say, I'm going to vote for the person who touched 48 kids because they the lesser of two pedos? How stupid does that sound? They're both pedos. Yeah, but one only touched 48 kids and the other one touched 50. So I'm going to vote for the lesser of two pedos. Huh? That's exactly how you sound. Oh, here, let me give you another one. The lesser of two evils, or the lesser of two disgusting options. Here are your options. A double-decker poop sandwich with flies on the side, or some vomit soup with caramelized and crusted boogers. Which one are you going to choose? You only got two of those disgusting options. Are you going to choose the lesser disgusting option? Is a triple decker poop sandwich less disgusting than some vomit soup with caramelized boogers? That's what you sound like when you're talking about, I'm voting for the lesser of two evils. No, I'm not voting for evil. Why is evil an option? And instead of you trying to say, you know what, how about we fight to change our circumstances and fortunes so that we don't have to vote for evil? Instead, you just blindly say, I'm voting for the lesser. Like, huh? It just doesn't make any sense. Is that what Jesus would do? Come on now. Would Jesus tell you, line up these evil options and then vote for the lesser one? Imagine, just say the lesser of anything else. I'm going to vote for the lesser of two pedos. I'm going to vote for the less demonic person. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, less evil is still evil. And I'm not voting for evil at all. And you said, look at this government. It's nothing but pedo. And this is what I'm saying. This is why many people try to frame that lesser of two evil stuff, because it's a way for them to comfortably vote for some disgusting, petulant, pompous pedo. Like, if that's what you want to do, cool. Just stop trying to frame it as some act of nobility, because it's not that at all. So I'm going to go ahead, because like I said, I ain't going to be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time. So I'm going to go ahead and transition to that school to prison pipeline, which we've heard this for so long, but it's crazy though, because people will pretend as if, well, we just don't know what systemic racism is. Well, the school to prison pipeline is a form of systemic racism. You can't pretend to be a high IQ and say, you know so much more than the blacks, but you can't figure this stuff out. These things have been well documented. So it's not that you can't figure it out. It's you chose to ignore it. You chose to blame the people. And fine, I'm all about personal responsibility, right? These people need to be held accountable for their personal behavior, for their irresponsible behavior. But you can't preach personal responsibility for people who made a mistake, but then at the same time try to skirt responsibility for the people who have put these unjust and oppressive systems in place, right? The people do need to be held accountable for their personal individual actions. But who was personally held accountable for COINTELPRO, right? Sure, people shouldn't have been selling drugs, right? But then also these alphabet agencies shouldn't have been putting drugs in communities. Can't we do two things? right? Hey, we can condemn the criminal for selling drugs. You can't tell me to condemn the criminal for selling the drugs, but at the same time, turn a blind eye to the government organization who supplied them the drugs. Look at that nigga. He's shooting people. Okay, cool. Let's hold him accountable, but we don't want to stop there. Where'd he get that gun from? Yeah, no, you know exactly where he got the gun from. Why did we stop there? We want to demonize the person who is shooting the gun. Okay, cool. Let's demonize him. But this is a nation of laws. Who gave him that gun? And suddenly you start to hear crickets and they want to start framing it. What about black on black crime? Okay, I care about black on black crime. There's no black gun manufacturer. So where are all these black on blackity black blacks getting these guns? And then they pivot from where they got the guns. What about fatherless homes? Okay, cool. If their daddy was there, those guns are still readily available. So again, where are they getting the guns from? And then they start talking about single mothers and bonnets and pants sagging and rap music and video games. Everything except the people who are supplying this stuff, right? Well, y'all seen that movie with Nicolas Cage, The Lord of War? And people were praising it. I love that movie, Nicolas Cage, right? He was going around engaging in, a bunch of felonious acts, right? But it's blamed that, hey, well, he didn't tell anybody to use the guns. He didn't tell anybody to use the grenades or the missiles. So you're supposed to absolve him of selling militarized weaponry to people, right? Nah, that's not personal responsibility. And that's not accountability either. But let's get into it, though. The school to prison pipeline. Where have we heard this before? And they want to try to pretend as if, oh, this is happening to everyone, right? Okay.
America's public schools are failing students in multiple ways. One of the most disruptive is the process by which students are funneled out of public schools and into the juvenile justice system. It's called the school to prison pipeline, and there is increasing evidence that it starts as early as preschool. The school to prison pipeline primarily victimizes Black students, trapping them in a cycle of incarceration.
I want to believe that every student wants to overcome the societal predictions of what's placed on them because of their race, sex, and their socioeconomic status.
Increasingly, schools are cracking down on small offenses, such as cutting classes or being disrespectful. This is supposed to discourage more serious infractions like drug or weapons possession, but what constitutes as disobedience or disrespect can be very subjective. A study in Texas found that 97% of the state's suspensions were made for subjective reasons, made at the discretion of school administrators, and Black students were 31% more likely to receive discretionary suspensions than white students.
So when they say that these things are subjective, that just means that many of these teachers who are W, they get in their feelings. Over 80% of the teaching people are non-Black. So it's a bunch of these people who pretend as if, they're just there for the kids, but many of them they harshly punish. And these are your liberals, right? These are the liberal lunatics in schools, overly harshly punishing the Black students, right? Even for the same ones. It's not like there's a saying that boys will be boys. The saying isn't Black boys will be boys. White boys will be boys. No, it's boys will be boys. So boys are bullying each other. Boys are talking smack. Boys are doing a lot of harsh things to each other, but that's the saying. Boys will be boys, right? So these other boys are doing things too, and then they're not being as harshly penalized. You know why? Because many of the people, the admin, look like them. So when it's a white boy doing the same thing as a Black boy, the Black boy is going to get harshly penalized. And then they'll tell you, well, why do you got to make it about race? You made it about race with this unfair and disparate treatment. But the only thing is they saying, why are you making it about race? It's like, why are you pointing out our racial bias and discrepancies? That's all they mean, because they're the ones who make it about race. Otherwise, these numbers wouldn't be, this great of a disparity.
Objective. A study in Texas found that 97% of the state's suspensions were made for subjective reasons, made at the discretion of school administrators, and Black students were 31% more likely to receive discretionary suspensions than white students.
It obviously affects the individual who is actually entering the penal system, but you're affecting communities, you're affecting the economy, you're affecting families, you're affecting school systems.
Disparity can start as early as preschool, when 48% of preschoolers who are suspended more than once are Black. African American boys are 3 times more likely to be suspended or expelled than their white counterparts, and Black girls are suspended at higher rates than any other race.
I want to believe every student is destined for success. They want to achieve, but more times than not, we can't control certain things what happen in their homes. I had a student years ago, by the time they got to school, they said, hey, I walked through a crack house facility, prostitution. When I get here, I walk through a metal detector and people bother me. And I haven't eaten since lunch yesterday. And you're asking me to sit here in class and learn? There's a challenge.
When students are kept out of school as punishment, they miss lessons and assignment and fall behind academically. They are more likely to be disciplined again, which can lead to further problems. The Texas study found that students who had been suspended or expelled were twice as likely to drop out. Adding to the problem, police officers stationed inside schools. When these officers react overzealously to minor infractions, they make small problems worse. Schools with officers have 5 times as many arrests for disorderly conduct as schools without them. All 25 of the nation's largest school districts have sworn police officers in at least some schools. As widespread protests emerged after George Floyd's death in police custody, Minneapolis School Board voted unanimously to end its contract with the police department. And there is pressure from students, educators, and activists around the country for other school districts to do the same. And there are other solutions as well.
We need more of our educators to take a genuine interest in the whole student as opposed to what they're going to teach on the board and so forth. Not be quick to actually discipline them, but be more mindful of the predicament they may be coming from and have an understanding of why they're doing what they're doing. Now, I'm not saying take away the discipline, but as you're adding that disciplinary act or that consequence, you're explaining, why am I doing this? You're explaining the reason I am disciplining you.
And that's what I always say. You always got to explain the why, especially with the discipline. And unfortunately, many of us have grew up in what I call toxic traditionalism. Now, I do think there is some terrific traditionalism. There's some things that we do need to bring back, how we were raised traditionally, but there are some things that were toxic. And one of the things is don't ask why and don't explain the why, because if your parents were paying the bills, it wasn't you don't ask why. Hey mom, could I go to so-and-so house? They're having a party. Hell no, you ain't going. Why? Don't be questioning me. It turns into that. Like, no, explain the why. Hey, your friend lives in a dangerous neighborhood. There was just a murder over there. It's a bunch of gang stuff. You, my kid, my son, my daughter, I got to look after you. I'm not taking that risk. It's unfortunate, but no, you know what I mean? If you want to have your friend come over here under my supervision, he can come, that's explaining the why. But the parents is like, man, I'm putting food on your table, clothes on your back. I ain't explaining nothing to you. I said you can't go, and that's it. I said no, and that's final. That's a little bit toxic because you want to be not just an authoritative figure. You want to get your point across in a coherent manner. Not only that, you want to be an effective communicator. But that's how many of us grew up with. So, we project a lot of that onto our kids. And then many people will say, hey, well, you can't really speak on this because, unless you're a parent, you don't really know how it is. So then people start to try to shame and shun your advice and expertise because they think that, you may not know psychology, right? But other thing too, like there's a difference between like raising your biological kid, which is something you can't emulate it, but there are people who don't have kids, or they are good at raising other people kids better than their own kids. There's multiple teachers that have connected with students more than they connect with their own kids, because sometimes there's a balance of, you're trying to be too friendly with your kid, or you're trying to be like a tiger mom and you're a little bit too tough on your kid, which may lead to extraordinary greatness with your kid, but it could also lead to burnout. So, it's a lot of nuance, when we're talking about this parental guidance, and which is why I'm gonna do a show dedicated towards that, so we can talk about how we are more productive parents in society, but more productive assistance to the parents, right? Because if it takes a village, then you're gonna need the neighbors to be, effective, with their communication as well. But let's see. You say, yeah, communication is key. And if you're not explaining the why, how could they truly understand? If you don't explain the why, things up for interpretation, right? Imagine if your kid did a bunch of things, right? Your kid could have spilt some juice on the carpet. Your kid could have left the toilet seat up, and your kid could have got some bad grades. And if you just say, hey, little Johnny, you're grounded because you know what you did. Go to the room and don't ask me nothing. You're grounded. You already know what you did. I ain't explaining nothing. So now the kid has to guess, like, damn, well, what did I really do to get grounded? It could have been this. It could have been that. Now they're speculating, and then they might come to a conclusion. Yeah, I'm grounded because of this, but is that conclusion fact? You could have gave them the factual reason why they were grounded by properly communicating. And this is what many parents don't want to accept. Many of you are bad communicators. You don't think you need to be a good communicator because you pay all the bills. You better not slam no damn doors in my house. I brought you in this world. I can take you out. Okay, fine. That sounds good, but that doesn't mean that you're communicating well. If the whole point is for you to get someone to understand, and then you're leaning into, I'm your mama, you better listen to me. It's like, is that the most effective way to communicate? It goes back to the why. Explain the why. Why are you yelling? Why are you restricting them? Why can they do this? Why can't they do that? Instead, many people are leaning on who they are and what their authoritative position is, or what they've done in the past. I raised you. I wiped your butt when you was a kid. Like, yeah, now your kid is 15. You're not wiping their butt anymore. So why are you bringing that up? Baby boomers are uncomfortable handling inquiries from millennials and Zoomers. Already know they get triggered. For one, if you're younger than them, they get triggered. And then if you don't have kids, then they get, you can't tell me nothing. And then if you do have kids, then it's just like, well, yeah, you're a parent too. It's like, it doesn't matter. If you don't have kids, they're not going to accept it. If you do have kids, it's just like, man, you do you, and I'll raise my kids this way. People get ultimately extra offended. And I don't think many people are trying to tell people how to raise their kids. I think it's just a recommendation. We should all be trying to give each other advice to be better citizens, right? If I was in stocks, I may be good at investments, but if there's some things that people can say that I can consider, I may not take all the tips under advisement. I may get 10 tips and I may only take 2 under advisement, but I listened to the other 8. It's just only 2 resonated with me, right? And it can be the same thing with any type of advice. Someone can give you advice on how to be a parent, or how to be a more productive parent, and they can go in one ear out the other, but then it's something that might stick. It doesn't mean that you were dumb or that you were a bad parent. This is just going to help you evolve, right? So that's the whole thing. Like I said, I'm here to learn, but I'm also here to teach. So you said it's like baby boomers have been programmed to behave like militant soldiers. Yeah, mindless militant soldiers for the corporate oligarch and establishment. And Roger says, lesser of two evils is code for I'm too scared and lazy to demand more and do the work to get more because I'm afraid of losing what gains I've already made, which I see that, you know what I call that? Intellectual cowardice. Because again, the whole lesser of two evils, that's not the only option. It's almost like how they say, oh, there's only two parties. No, there's not only two parties. Now, you can say there's only two viable parties based on the rigged system, but no, there's Libertarian, Green Party, all of these other parties. So just by these other parties, the People's Party, whether you think these parties are viable or not, they're still an option. So imagine, like I said, someone gives you an option for a hamburger and pizza and a hot dog. And you say the only options is the hamburger and hot dog. But no, there's a slice of pizza over there. No, but these are the only options, the hamburger and the hot dog. No, it's not. There's literally a slice of pizza right there. I have the option to grab that slice of pizza. Well, if you choose that slice of pizza, you really chose the hot dog. Huh? That's what they do. If you choose the third party, if you choose the Green Party, you really voted for Trump. A vote for Jill Stein is really a vote for Trump. Grabbing a slice of pizza is really grabbing a hot dog. Huh? So again, three options, a hamburger, a hot dog, and a pizza. I'll choose that slice of pizza. Why'd you choose the hamburger? No, I didn't. Why'd you vote for Jill Stein? You really voted for Trump. No, I didn't. Green Party is not a vote for Trump. And that's what they've convinced you. Oh, I would vote Libertarian, but that's just going to be a vote for Trump. So then you end up voting blue no matter who. How brainwashed and pathetic could you be? Let's get back into it, though.
Because this happened, and this is how you can fix this down the line. I'm showing a genuine interest of actually being restorative and helping you and moving forward so this won't happen again and be repeated.
Without them. All 25 of the nation's largest school districts have sworn police officers in at least some schools. As widespread protests emerged after George Floyd's death in police custody, Minneapolis School Board voted unanimously to end its contract with the police department. And there is pressure from students, educators, and activists around the country for other school districts to do the same. And there are other solutions as well.
We need more of our educators to take a genuine interest in the whole student, as opposed to what they're going to teach on the board and so forth. Do not be quick to actually discipline them, but be more mindful of the predicament they may be coming from and have an understanding of why they're doing what they're doing. Now, I'm not saying take away the discipline, but as you're adding that disciplinary act or that consequence, you're explaining, why am I doing this? You're explaining the reason I am disciplining you is because this happened, and this is how you can fix this down the line. I'm showing a genuine interest of actually being restorative and helping you and moving forward so this won't happen again and be repeated.
There are also proactive solutions, including hiring school guidance counselors instead of police officers. Experts say the best way to prevent incarceration is to provide more equal educational opportunities and to create environments that support all students.
So yeah, the school to prison pipeline, this is not by happenstance. It's not coincidence. It is by design. But don't worry, we're going to get into it just a little bit more. And then after this, I'm going to get ready to shut her down. Like I told you, I ain't going to be here for a long time, but it will be a strong time. Not the sexiest topic because, of course, you know, no one is getting yelled at. No one is getting called a B-I-E-I-E-H. And of course, I'm not crapping on the Black community in a derogatory manner. So that is not conducive for a lot of likes on YouTube. Usually, and my channel is already shadow banned, so kind of is what it is. But I do at least want to give y'all something with replay value and enlightenment value, but also so you can put your thinking caps on too. So Roger says, Oh, he said fathers are trained to be authority figures and mothers are trained to be nurturers. Well, don't say that, M-Dub-P, because they're going to call you misogynist. And if you say this, then they're going to say, you just want women at the house barefoot and pregnant. Unfortunately, that's where they like to go. And we still rocking with Mr. Gritty. Voting for third parties are not the same as voting for Trump or Harris. That's what I'm trying to say. But that's what they always do. When you say, what's the options? Trump and Kamala. And you're like, no, what are the other options? Trump and Kamala. No, those aren't all the options. Yep, that's all you have to choose. Well, why were there other people on the ballot? Why were there Claudia de la Cruz? Why was there Cornel West? Why was there Jill Stein? There were other options. So why are you telling me that there were only two? And then anything, a vote for Cornel West is a vote for Trump. A vote for Claudia de la Cruz is a vote for Trump. They just fearmonger you. So even if you pretend as if you want an option, then they say, no, that option really means that you voted for Trump. It doesn't make any sense. Now, here, let me put it in sports terms, right? There was the MVP race. There was SGA. There was Nikolai Jokic and Luka Doncic. And then if I check Luka and say, a vote for Luka Doncic is really a vote for Nikolai Jokic. No, it's not. That's why I checked a separate box. When I check the Jill Stein box or the Libertarian or whatever party box, that's not the same box as Trump. It's a separate box. So stop trying to convince me that it's the same. And Roger says, I will tell him we don't have a per voter system, but a per state system. New York hasn't went red since Reagan 84 re-election. So New York was red. Okay, so let's get back into this, right? And like after this, I'm going to shut her down. So when they always talk about, hey, we freed the slaves and we abolished slavery and stuff, tell the entire story. The 13th Amendment is often celebrated as the end of slavery, but the text contains a critical exception. And once they put that exception in there, like if somebody says, hey, we're abolishing RAPE, except, hold on, what you mean except? Once you say accept, then that means that it's not abolished. That means that there's a caveat. That means that there's certain contingencies that allow slavery to not only exist, but persist and flourish. And people know this all the time, but they always try to harken back. Black people talk about slavery too much. No, we don't. We don't talk about it enough. But even if we did, slavery is still ongoing. So why wouldn't we still talk about it, right? So the text, it contains a critical exception. It abolished slavery and involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. Now, this clause, known as the punishment clause, it created a constitutional loophole that was exploited almost immediately. Southern states enacted black codes, which criminalized behaviors like unemployment through vagrancy laws. So again, they didn't want to hire you. We don't want to hire you niggas. And then you walking around looking for work and then they find you. Oh, look, you're a vagrant. You don't have work, but I'm looking for work and nobody will hire me. Shut up. You're arrested. I mean, what other group went through that? They're trying to frame it now as people of color. But what people of color went through this? They enacted black codes. They didn't enact people of color codes. So these vagrancy laws allowed them to arrest newly freed black people and lease them back to the plantations and factories in a system known as convict leasing. Again, all these people that talk about slavery and all this other type of stuff, why don't they get into this extensively? They love to talk about what happened in 1948 in Palestine in the Nakba. And you should be talking about that. But what happened in 1948 in America? Look at someone like Max Blumenthal. Max Blumenthal will tell you everything that happened in Gaza. No, this happened in 1948. No, that happened in 1901. No, that happened in the early 1800s. But he'll always be talking about the Middle East and foreign conflicts. But then when you start asking him about, okay, cool, you know about what happened in Palestine in 1948. What about 1948 in America? Then suddenly, whether it's him, Dave Smith, Glenn Greenwald, then all of them start sounding like Nick Fuentes or Tucker Carlson. But I'm supposed to give them praise because they talk about what happened in 1948 in some distant land. Last time I checked, aren't you guys all American? You guys voted for Trump, who ran on America first, but all of their issues are about foreign lands first. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just a complete isolationist where I don't talk about what's going on in these foreign lands, but you can't tell me you see the humanity in some people that are being oppressed millions or thousands of miles away. But then right here in your home backyard, it's just like, hey, bro, you're being woke, right? We're being woke if we talk about what happened to us in America in 1948, but talking about the Palestinian Nakba in 1948, that's not woke. Make it make sense. So as the Harvard Undergraduate Law Review notes, this loophole establishes incarcerated individuals as persons without rights, whose labor is the property of the state. And what do they call you when you get locked up? A ward of the state, i.e. property, i.e. a slave. This directly connects the post-slavery era to the modern prison industrial complex. Now, for-profit prisons, an engine of inequality. The modern private prison industry emerged in the 1980s, i.e. the crack era, coinciding with the war on drugs. But like Nixon said, the war on drugs was really just the war on blacks. They couldn't call it the blacks because they say, hey, well, everybody did drugs, so this was a war on drugs. But they weren't locking up a bunch of white junkies, right? Black people were called junkies and crackheads. Meanwhile, the white junkies and crackheads were called hippies, and they were just free spirits, bro. Okay. So political lobbying. So private prison companies have spent over, and the number is higher now, but $24.5 million lobbying Congress since 2000. And this is just since 2000 to advocate for harsher sentencing laws, mandatory minimums, and 3 strikes policies that fuel their growth. So again, they always talk about recidivism. We don't want to lock people up and we don't want people coming back and forth. No, they want people in there for a longer time. Why would they want people in there for a longer time now? If you've done something very violent, barbaric, and heinous, lock them up and keep them in there. But many people are in there for non-violent drug offenses. There were many black people that were locked up for weed. And then they were framing it, you do the crime, you do the time. These people had less than an ounce of weed, many of these people, or some of them had a pound, right? Let's just say a pound or 2. And that's supposed to seem, oh my God, he had a pound of weed. What was he going to do with that? Meanwhile, a bunch of non-black people are selling metric tons of weed. What weighs more, a pound or a ton? They're selling tons and they're saying, yeah, you were selling a pound of weed or an ounce of weed, because a lot of cats wasn't selling that much weight. You sold a couple ounces of weed, but you were demonized and treated as if you were Rayful Edmonds or Frank Lucas. Then you got some Armenian, some Algerian, some Russian dude selling metric tons. But hey, they did it the right way. They're selling the same product. So the racial disproportionality Black people, foundational Black Americans, are disproportionately placed in private prisons where they often serve longer sentences and are less likely to receive parole. How is this just? The industry has given record campaign contributions, i.e., 1.6 million in the 2016 election cycle to influence policy. Their success is staggering. While the total U.S. population doubled between 90 and 2009, the private prison population grew 17 times over that same period. This is not coincidence. These corporations, through groups like the American Legislative Exchange Council, have successfully lobbied for the very laws that create demand for their services, often securing bed guarantees. Now, look this up. Now, these people are lobbying Congress. They're lobbying Congress to pass stricter criminality laws. This is why every year they talk about crime. Crime is going down, but why do they have to keep talking about crime? Because they have bed guarantees and their contracts, and many of them require to keep the prisons 90 to 100% full. They've already chosen which bodies they want to keep them full, which is why they need to over police you and over demonize you. So then when crime is going down, since violent crime is going down, right? It's not a bunch of Crips and blood shootouts and things like that. So then they have to overly criminalize everything else. You know what I mean? So, I mean, just look this up. Why would they require that they keep the prisons 90 to 100% full? Wouldn't it be good if those prisons were 30% full? That would mean that a lot of people are not doing crime. Instead, they're saying, no, people are doing crime. So you have to, keep them full. In order to do that, that means you have to over police people and you have to overcharge them and you have to give them mandatory minimums because anything could be a crime. This is why I played earlier. A woman who blew the whistle about the dirty water in her city or in a local city, they were going to give her a felony. And the mandatory minimum for that, it could have been a couple years, maybe anywhere from 3 to 5 years, right? And that's just for something like that. So they can always find a way to stick you in there, right? And this shouldn't be a Black issue. This should be an American issue. But the reason why people don't care is because it's happening to Black people and they think we're inherently criminal. But nothing, even let's just say that we were inherently criminal. That doesn't mean 100% of our population is criminal. And even if we were inherently criminal, what does that say if we're inherently criminal, but the system is inherently biased towards us, right? Why should we be on the straight and narrow, right? Why should we adhere to a system that's corrupt? I mean, they're already demonizing us anyways. When we're doing things, you got your registration right, you're driving the speed limit, and then you get pulled over at night for a DWB, a driving while Black. You're doing everything right. So Black people are demonized despite falling crime rates. Research shows that Black Americans are not more prone to criminality, but are policed and sentenced more harshly. Black students, for example, do not misbehave at a higher rate than their white peers, yet they are disciplined and arrested far more frequently. Black men make up about 13% of the U.S. population, but account for roughly 35% of the incarcerated population. Black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. Well, why do you gotta make it about race? They're making it about race. If they didn't make it about race, how could they have these stats? They have these stats because they made it about race. You're making it about race too. Whenever there's a shooting, if there's a shooting in Chicago, if they say, a man did a drive-by in Chicago, what's the first thing that people want to know? They don't want to know if that person survived. They don't want to know what type of firearm they used. They want to know what race was that person. That's why they have terms. Didn't do nothing. Usual suspect, joggers. They have all sorts of code words to basically blame black people, right? But I thought y'all didn't care about race. Why don't they say an American citizen or an undocumented citizen did a crime on another undocumented citizen? A human being committed a crime on another human being, right? Since we're all created in the image of God, we don't need to talk about color or race, but that's what people want to do. They love to know the race of people whenever there's a crime. Why won't you just say it was another human being? Why are we tracking these stats by race? If race doesn't matter, why are they tracking stats by race? They're tracking arrest records by race, but at the same time telling you, hey, don't make it about race. Okay, stop collecting this data then. Since we're all the same and we're all human beings, it's just human on human crime, right? Wonder why none of these colorblind don't make it about race. Why don't they accept that? Black women represent 13% of the female population, but 44% of incarcerated women. Black youth are 5 times as likely to be incarcerated as their white peers, and over 80% of youth serving life sentences are non-white. So the 13th Amendment exception clause doesn't just allow incarceration, it authorizes forced labor. Today, nearly 800,000 of the 1.2 million people in U.S. prisons are forced to work. You heard that again. They're forced to work. What do you call that? Slavery. This labor generates over $2 billion. $2 billion in goods, $9 billion in services annually. So this isn't just 1 year, this is annually. Do you think they want to give up that cash cow? This is free labor generating $9 billion in services annually, $2 billion in goods. This is why they constantly fearmonger about crime, so that you give the police more money. Every year the police need more money, and they always frame it as they're afraid for their lives. Seriously, if you were walking down the street and you had a homie with you, you and your homie had a bulletproof vest, you and your homie had a handgun, you and your homie had a taser that can hit someone running around, y'all have a K9 in the back, you have a shotgun, you have an AR, you have flashbang grenades, you have smoke grenades. You can make a push of a button and they can bring a SWAT truck with a battering ram. You have a robot drone dog. You have a flying drone. You have a helicopter. I fear for my life. Did any of that stuff sound fearful to you? So mind you, a black dude is supposed to walk the mean streets of Oakland with no firearm because we want to have gun control, right? I'm supposed to walk these notorious streets with nothing but a cell phone. So if I get scared, I run to a corner, hide under, some old abandoned car and hope the cops come there, right? That sounds like a fearful for your life. So they should say, man, hey, the streets of Oakland is dangerous. So we want to push for people to be responsible firearm owners. You know what I mean? Just in case you guys get in a pickle. They don't push for that. They just push, these streets is dangerous, so give us more money so we can't stop the crime. They come after the body's already dropped and take a report. It's not like if there's a shootout, they ain't gonna come mid-shootout to help save you. They'll wait till the body's drop and then come and take a report. And then talk about black on black crime. Why didn't you come and interject and intervene? If you're scared, go to church. They're always talk about how scared they are. Why do you guys have all of this advanced militarized weaponry if you're afraid to use it, right? Well, they're really not afraid to use it. They just kind of use it on unarmed people in opportune times, though. But the whole thing is that this is a system. You don't need to know anything else. That all you need to know is that the labor from incarcerated people generates $2 billion in goods and $9 billion in services annually. You really don't need to know anything else besides that. The workers are paid pennies per hour or nothing at all. The average wage ranges from 13 cents to 52 cents an hour. So if you got a high paying job in prison, you're getting paid around 52 cents an hour. Now imagine whatever you wanted done around the house. Let's say you needed some landscaping and you can pay that person 52 cents an hour to get it done. If you needed a nanny, 52 cents an hour to get it done. Whatever service that you need. And this is on average. Most likely you would probably be paying about 20 cents to get it done. This is why they're constantly pushing the tough on crime. The tough on crime isn't about crime. It's about commerce and capitalism. Yeah, okay, some people do need to be locked up and off the streets, but all of these nonviolent people, I mean, come on now. And then they frame it as that like, oh man, no, lock this person up, because he stole a bag of hot Cheetos and Haagen-Dazs. Okay, he shouldn't have been stealing that. Okay, then he went to Ross and then he stole a bunch of, True Religion jeans. Okay, fine, he shouldn't have stole that, right? And then they want to make an example. Yeah, throw the book at him. So now you want to give a dude 10 years because he stole some hot Cheetos and Haagen-Dazs, and it's like, you do the crime, you do the time. And then when they get locked and then when they get out, no one wants to hire them. So they have a cycle of doing it over and over. And then and this is why they're trying to push for 3 strike laws. And if you get a certain amount of misdemeanors, it's going to be a felony and all this stuff. This is not because they care about crime. Most of the crimes are economic based, right? The prisoners, they say that these people are lazy, but of the 1.2 million people in prison, 800,000 of them are forced to work. Doesn't sound like they're lazy. And even if they were lazy, they're being forced to work. And these same people, when they get out, those industries that they were working in won't even hire them. So what exactly are they supposed to do? So incarcerated workers are excluded from basic workplace safety laws. This is why they love a lot of undocumented immigrants. This is a nation of immigrants built by immigrants. They love to say that just so you get desensitized, so you can have millions and millions of undocumented people flooding in. Why? They're under the table. If they're paid under the table, then that means they're excluded from basic work safety laws, workers' compensation. You can't unionize. And this is why they love to bring them over here. They're vulnerable and they're in a undocumented state of limbo. So they can always say, hey, if you complain about us, you see what Trump is doing. Now, you don't want to go back to your shithole country. So Jorge, Mario, Ramiro, just shut up, work this construction job, and be okay with me paying you under the table and giving you some bags of Takis and Corona. You know what I mean? I mean, who do you think you can do that with an American worker? Of course not. Could you do that with an undocumented worker? Yeah, you can. Same thing if you have an undocumented nanny. Many of them are, abused in a sexual manner. But at the same proposition, if you tell on me, you're going to get deported. If you tell on me, it's going to be your word against them. Hey, you're not even supposed to be here. Matter of fact, I'll go call ICE on you. You know what I mean? These are the type of things that they're subjected to, which is why I'm vehemently against illegal immigration. You're bringing these people over here to be abused, mistreated, and exploited. Now, I do have a term that I coined, MAE, mutually agreed exploitation. Many of these people know they're getting exploited, but they see it as a mutually beneficial exploitation, so they're okay with that. But you can't say that you're a champion for human rights and just want to see someone get exploited just so that, corporations can make some extra coin and the shareholder could buy his 7th yacht. Now, the system doesn't just imprison individuals, it strategically disenfranchises entire communities. A felony conviction acts as a lifetime barrier. Like right now, it doesn't matter if a dude, or let's just say a woman, if she's 40 years old, a very reputable professional in terms of her skill, but she has a felony and, she's, a nanny. People are going to be like, damn, I don't know if I want a nanny with a felony around my kids, right? So many people have had these little funny uncles, the type of funny uncles that molest kids. Many of those people have had those type of uncles in their family, and they didn't tell a single solitary soul. But then if there's someone with a felony conviction, they're like, oh, I just don't know if you can trust them. Yeah, maybe you can't trust them, but maybe it wasn't just because of the felony. Because right now, people will talk about felonies so bad, but then they don't care about Trump having felonies. They'll say, yeah, Trump has felonies, but he was railroaded by the system. That same system that you told black people to stop whining about. So imagine a white dude whining about the system and it's okay. But what if I say, no, the system actually targeted my people and I can give you documented stuff. Stop begging, stop whining, get over it. Did Trump get over it? Trump is constantly whining. Even now he's whining about the IRS. The IRS unfairly targeted him. You know what I mean? So it seems like victimhood is good, when it's the dominant society. But it looks like people are still rocking out. And I had to give a shout out because I ain't know Big Rig slid off in here. The Mr. 350, the big block boat rider. Yeah, I'm about to shut it down. I only probably got like 15 more minutes. And we got sunlight from the Sunshine State, shining brighter than a diamond. The Florida fam. You said Hunter Biden smokes crack. Yeah, Hunter Biden smokes crack. You smoke crack, don't you? Y'all seen that Lean on Me with Morgan Freeman? You smoke crack. You smoke crack, don't you? He was talking to that fat dude on the top of the roof. You said judges have investment in prisons. Yes, this isn't speculation. This isn't coincidence. This is a strategy. Mark Furman died. I listened to the Furman tapes for the first time. He was racist. He talked about how he used to harass young black kids, choke them out, etc. Yeah, he was a card-carrying white supremacist. And guess what? Even after Mark Furman had lied, he planted that glove on OJ. Not only that, they were riding around with tainted evidence and stuff. Super crooked and corrupt cops. You thought his career would be done? No. Fox News gave him a job. You said the white supremacists always have imposed racial quotas so that the prisons could have more FBAs than non-FBAs in prison. Correct. And these are the same people that tell you don't make it about race. They racially target people and incarcerate them based on race. And then when it's time to dole out justice, why do you got to make it about race? Why did you target me based on race? You said police policy enforcer, prison labor military money funneling. Yeah, that's all it is. That's what I'm saying. So when you think about incarceration, what you're thinking about is commerce, you know what I mean? And just the oligarchs, the elites using these bodies, just to further enrich themselves. That's all it's about. But let me read a little bit more of this and then I'm going to get up out of here. So, like I said, a felony conviction acts as a lifetime barrier. It legally denies access to employment, housing, education, public assistance. So not only could you not get a job, you say, fine, I can't get no job, but I hustled and saved enough money on the street. But now since you got a felony, you couldn't build up your credit. So you have no credit. So now you can't get no housing. And then you say, okay, cool, I got my credit on point. Could I get some housing? No, we don't want to hire. We don't have felons over here. A lot of public assistance you don't have access to. You're a felon. Most of the times you don't have the access. You can't vote. And these are the people that we're supposed to say, okay, we shun them for society, right? We disintegrated them from society, but at the same time, they're supposed to act and be on their best behavior. They've already been marginalized. They've already been treated like crap, seen as the lowest scum of the earth. And then if they start behaving as such, why is anyone surprised? If you've seen that cute, cuddly dog, Lassie, would anyone look at Cujo and expect Cujo to act like Lassie? Would anyone look at a junkyard dog that's been malnourished, chained, beaten, peed on, spit on, pooped on? You look at that chained junkyard dog and think that it's going to act like Air Bud or Beethoven? Who are we kidding here? And this is why people know, this is why they go out of their way to make sure their kids don't go to these public schools. If all of these kids would, like, these kids grow up with silver spoons, right? If their culture is so superior, they should be able to go to a public school and overcome everything, right? So what if the schools are failing? So what if the buildings are dilapidated? So what if they have poor teaching? It's all about culture, right? So if your kid who grew up with a silver spoon and you've taught this, this great, wonderful culture to them, it shouldn't matter if they're going to the school with a bunch of dumb blacks. Shouldn't matter if they're going to the school with a bunch of violent kids, right? Your kid was taught right with a silver spoon. They should overcome all of these hurdles, right? But no one believes that. They say, no, I don't want my kid to go there. That school is not good. So if the school is not good for you, why are you trying to say that it's good for them? Oh, well, that kid's parents are poor. So, yep, that's what he gets. So basically, you're blaming the kid because his parents were poor. But at the same time, you don't want people blaming your kid. So what? My kid was born with a silver spoon. You can't blame him for that. So don't blame your kid for having a silver spoon, but blame the poor kid because his mama is poor? Huh? This shit doesn't even make sense, but you've been convinced that, yeah, it does make sense. Okay, make it make sense to me then. So mass incarceration creates a state of chronic psychological terror. Formerly incarcerated Black men exhibit higher rates of PTSD, depression, and anxiety. This trauma is intergenerational, with children of incarcerated parents facing severe emotional, financial, and educational hardship, perpetuating a cycle of missing men and destabilized communities. The surveillance and control continues long after release, leading many to feel they are locked up even though I'm free. The visits, the peeing in the cup, all sorts of things, right? Even once they say, okay, you're free, you're no longer a slave, you're no longer a ward of the state, but then the state still has a leash on you. So are you really free? Hey. And like Dr. Nellie Fuller said, hey, we live in an open air prison. And I'm going to paraphrase, since this is a luxurious prison, the wool has been pulled over your eyes so you don't think, nah, we really free, man. You tripping, man. Stop acting like a victim. Well, if you're free, don't you got a Russian girl that you like? Go over to Russia for 3 months and just chill over there and try to come back. Since you think that you're so free, look at this lady that I covered earlier, right? She was free to post on Facebook. She freely posted about the disgusting water in her city. And guess what? The cops freely came over there and gave her a felony for free. So how free are you again, right? You think that you have the freedom of speech? Okay, go ahead. Say some stuff about Israel. Call Jewish people slurs since you're so free, right? People think they're free because they go around calling Black people niggers and they're like, oh, you have the freedom of speech. Yeah, you have the freedom of speech to say that about Black people until you end up like Chud the Bussy Warrior, right? Who's ready for his cock meat sandwich. Is that your version of freedom? So the school to prison pipeline is a documented strategy. This is not an accidental metaphor, but a documented system. As school districts were integrated, police were increasingly embedded within them, not for safety, but for racial control. And the data is stark. punishment. Black students, who make up 15% of the national student body, accounted for 31% of school-related arrests and law enforcement referrals. And nobody is saying, but per capita, because they want to frame it, yeah, this is disproportionate, but it's like, well, the blacks are just inherently criminal, and then it will turn into fatherless homes, sub-Saharan low IQs, etc. So rather than looking at these disparities in these per capita numbers, people will try to justify it and say, yeah, these numbers are, alarming, but hey, Black people are criminals, so they expect this to happen. So the adultification bias, Black boys are perceived as older and less innocent than white boys the same age, directly influencing disciplinary outcomes. And this goes back to like how they said with the Black women, when they were giving birth or in certain surgical procedures, they wouldn't give them any anesthesia because, hey, you're Black, suck it up, buttercup. You can take this. Same thing with the Black boys. If you're a Black teenager, they'll call you a Black man. So they call the Black boys men, and then they try to infantilize the white boys. Oh my God, all he did was play Pokemon. It's like, dude, the dude shot up a school and you want to talk about him playing Pokemon. Meanwhile, there'll be a Black boy who gets brutalized by a cop, and then they'll start talking about, well, his daddy wasn't shit and he was locked up 5 times. What does that have to do with the cop brutalizing him? So harsher treatment for girls. Black girls are 4 times more likely to be arrested at school and 3 times more likely to be referred to law enforcement than white girls. But let me guess, why do you have to make it about race? Or I don't see color. If this is a colorblind society, why do they have all of these stats based on race, ethnicity, and color? So this pipeline funnels children from the classroom into courtrooms for minor, non-violent infractions, saddling them with criminal records that trigger the collateral consequences of mass incarceration before they reached adulthood. Now let's talk about the contradiction of this being a white Christian nation. The ideological contradiction. The vision of a white Christian nation is at direct odds with the central tenets of Christianity: justice for the oppressed, care for the imprisoned, and the inherent dignity of all people. The system I've described, one that legally re-enslaves, economically strips, and psychologically torments a specific racial group, is not a distortion of a Christian ethic. It is the antithesis. The maintenance of this system often relies on rhetoric that simultaneously invokes religious morality while practicing systemic cruelty, a duality that has sustained racial hierarchy for generations. So that's what we gonna do. And Big Rig, who you talking about? Don't chimp out. You said this is exactly why, for the most part, they start their own businesses and hire their own. They come out of prison. Yeah, when they come out of prison, I mean, what other options do they have? Other people won't hire them. They go put out dangerous fires, and the fireman was like, yeah, we can't hire you. You a felon. Okay, but when that felon was locked up, you had them putting out the dangerous fires. And that word felon, it just sticks with you everywhere you go. You could have been 18 years old and got a felony, and now you're 38. Now you're 48. But as soon as you go to get a job, they say, hey, do you have any felonies? And then they say, hey, the felonies don't exclude you from the job. But if you have an identical resume as someone without a felony, who do you think they're going to go with? Your resume is great. Their resume is great. They don't have a felony. You do have a felony. Who do you think they're going to go with? But at the same time, they're pretending as if, no, why are you acting like a victim? So you said facts. we're not free. Slavery is still there. I mean, they told you straight up, slavery was abolished except for the punishment clause. And that punishment clause means if you get locked up, then you become a ward of the state. I always tell, shout out to Big Rig, I always tell Big Rig and others this, right? When they're in there, if they tell you to drop your pants, you're going to drop your pants. If you don't drop your pants, they're going to beat you until you drop your pants. Nobody else could get you to do that. No nigga on the block could get you to do that. No teacher, no coworker could get you to do that. But guess who can get you to do that? COs, prison guards, wardens, because you're a ward of the state. There's no context where some grown man could tell you to lean forward, bend over, and spread your cheeks and cough. They do it in prison, and you got to adhere to it. If they want to do a cavity search, I mean, what are you going to do to stop them? Okay, cool. You're going to resist arrest. They beat the crap out of you, and then they do whatever they want. And then when they violate you, all they're going to say is, hey, you resisted. I mean, does it sound like you're in control? Like I said, Frank know what's up. It's crazy. There's no situation where you would be walking around a bunch of other niggas with just their dicks hanging out. In jail, you have to. Why? Because they told you to. And if we tell you to drop your pants in front of a bunch of other dudes, then you gonna fucking drop your pants. And that's what you do. There's no other context that you would do that. But you do it once you're a prisoner. And as a prisoner, you're a slave. That's buck breaking you. Bend over and spread your cheeks. They buck broken you. Man, I'm a thug. Man, I got bodies, man. I slid on 10 ops. Yeah, well, you slid on 10 ops and they told you, okay, bend over 10 degrees and spread them, buddy. Spread them, bucko. They didn't care about how many bodies dropped. They said, hey, pull your pants down and let your nuts drop. And it sounds funny. Pause. Nigga, you were the one in there doing that. You didn't say pause when you were spreading your cheeks in there. Nigga, when you robbed that bank and got locked up, you didn't say pause. So don't say pause now. You feel me? You said I went to continuation school to jail. Kids stay out of trouble. And the reason why I say this as a disclaimer to so that people stay out of trouble. And it's usually effective because a lot of these dudes who love smashing these chicks. I'm like, bruh, if you love smashing chicks, stay on the straight and narrow. Get your stuff together so you can be bringing the chicks over your house. Y'all can be Netflix and chilling, whether you sliding on your ops, and your villains, right? Because when you get in there locked up, it's not going to be any vagina around. It's going to be a lot of sausages, right? And, that ain't your get down, right? So why are you trying to put yourself in that environment? Not only that, many people got too much to lose. A lot of people got stuff going for them. You want to waste precious years of your life to be locked down with a bunch of dumb, goofy niggas? This shit don't make sense, bro. So, nah, I'll pass. And actually, I'm about to get up out of here, but I just wanted to show one more story, of why you just got to stay on the straight and narrow. So just give me 1 second. Just give me like 1 minute to find this video. If I can't find it, I'm going to shut it down. So give me 1 minute. I'll be back.
That was nasty, bro, like a nasty hoe. I got a nasty flow. My baddie, though, is a classy pro. I manage her and she escort. International exports. I got hardware, my tech support. Really about that business, cause I'm that dude, but you just adore. Used to be on that block, equipped with a Glock. I sold all kind of dope. 10 toes down on the pavement. I send that bitch like an envelope. Enclosed with a love letter. I love cheddar, so I grind hard. I be putting that work in, but I ain't punching no time card. When it comes to being a boss, nigga, I am the epitome. You keep hating, belly aching, but it takes more to get rid of me. I am full of energy, but I ain't feeling jittery. I'm just grinding, shining like a diamond, looking glittery. Literally, I just left the bank to deposit racks. Holla back, don't want no shoes and clothes because my closet's packed. I got hella different kicks just like Lionel Messi. Still be rocking Jordans. heard you say.
Okay, so there y'all have it. So this, I'm gonna end with this, just because this is no laughing matter, and this was just last year. What year is it? 2026. This was published December 5th, 2025. So this was in Mississippi. Now look at all these people, right? Y'all can see these people, the W's, right? Y'all see all these people. Whose culture is this? Who raised these people? Now let's see what they done, right? A white Mississippi deputy now serving 40 years in prison for physically abusing and sexually assaulting citizens, including 2 black men, while a part of a corrupt goon squad gang of white cops, is now being sued for pulling out his penis and rubbing it on the face and bare buttocks of a man he was arresting. So how many people would admit to this? This is buck breaking. This is the ultimate pulls. This is disgusting. Nobody would admit this because they know people gonna joke. Pulls, right? It's funny, nigga. It's nothing funny about this shit. And if you joke with somebody about this, then they might put your life on pause. And then you gonna say they were overreacting. Why are you fucking joking about this stuff, bro? And this is what I'm saying. These people over here, these sick dudes, and these are not the first people that it happened to. So when I describe you going to jail and bending over and spreading your cheeks and coughing and you pulling your pants down and you're walking around and got your dick out in front of a bunch of other dudes with their dick out, that's just normal. Unfortunately, in the prison system and the slave plantation system, what is normal about some deputies pulling out their penis, rubbing it on your face, then pulling down your pants and then, doing a little penis tap on your booty hole? All of this sounds very graphic and disgusting, right? But imagine if somebody had went through it. Imagine if it was your family member. I mean, would you be the shoulder that they can cry on without you trying to joke and make little ditty jokes? No diddy, right? You think these fucking niggas wanted this shit to happen to them? But no, you don't care, right? Because you want to get your little jokes off and shit like that. And then when it happens to you and no one cares, then it's like, see, we don't stick together, man. Like, no, bruh. Like, kind of is what it is, bro. Dog eat dog world, right? But again, whose culture is that to arrest people, then pull out your Johnson and then rub it across another man's face and then pull down their pants and then you're putting your penis on their butt? I mean, who would do that? And all of these people would say, I'm not gay. Okay. So again, look at what else they did. Jenkins and Parker were also tortured and sexually abused. The deputies ordered them to strip naked and stick dildos in their mouth, as well as attempting to thrust the dildo in Jenkins' anus. So not only were they told them to strip, then they said, here's some dildos, suck on these dildos. And then they tried to put the dildos in their booties. This was last year. What, all these people, what about black on black crime? How many of those covered this? Did Anton Daniels cover this? Did Jesse Lee Peterson cover this? Did the Hodge twins cover this? Did Officer Tatum cover this? Did Candace Owens cover this? Don't worry. I'll wait. One deputy also rammed a gun into Jenkins' mouth while he was handcuffed and fired a single shot, shattering his jaw and lacerating his tongue. So not only were they sticking dildos in their mouth, he stuck a gun in his mouth, told him to suck on the gun, pulled the trigger, and blew off half of his face, or at least a hole through his jaw. While another dude had his pants pulled down, trying to stick a dildo in his butt. One dude was trying to stick a dildo in his butt. The other dude was trying to stick his actual penis in his butt. Pause, pause, pause. No diddy, no diddy. Baby oil, no diddy. Pause. Nigga, what the fuck is funny about this? I could keep going, but I just got rather disgusted. All these niggas talking about sliding on the ops and all this shit, like these the ops you need to slide on. So, like I said, man, all of this stuff is not coincidence. It's by design. You said the Goon Squad. Yeah, have you not heard of them? But yeah, I mean, just look it up. This was in Mississippi. All you got to type is Goon Squad sodomizes black people. That's all you got to type in. Not only that, they were waterboarding them with milk. They were mad because I think one of them was smashing a snow bunny. And you said the Mexicans and whites COs against us. Correct. That's what I'm saying. We have no allies, which is why I don't respect a lot of the gangsters or the thuggish niggas that get out and then they be trying to act like, oh, they cool, man. The Latinos, they niggas just like us. No, they ain't, bro. They was clicking up against you, and then you get out, and because you got some Latina cooch, you're trying to act like, man, they in it with us. No, they're against you. You said, I remember that story, but I don't remember that part. Of course, you're not going to remember that part because all of these people were white, so the lamestream media downplayed it. You know what I mean? They're just like, oh, the Goon Squad, they were corrupt. They got locked up for doing some bad things. No, what were the bad things that they were doing? They were over there violating and buck breaking people, telling these dudes to strip, handcuffing them, telling them to strip. And they were penetrating these dudes. And these are not the only dudes that happened. I may do a whole nother story. Like, a lot of this stuff happens, but people don't want to talk about it because they know that a lot of people are hella emotionally immature and it's going to turn into a pause, no Diddy situation. That's funny. Oh, nigga, pause. You know what I mean? So no dude, he's not going to tell his girl about that, how he got buck broken and emasculated. He's not going to tell his homie because his homie is going to be on some goofy shit. So a lot of times people got to live with that. And then it might manifest in a way, in some sort of PTSD outbreak or outrage. You know what I mean? It's extremely unfortunate, right? But I don't think this is a laughing matter and stuff. But dudes get violated all the time. Where they handcuff you, they pull you over. Here, let me search you. They pull your pants down. They're grabbing all on your dick and stuff. Oh, my bad. I thought you had something there. There's videos where they got the cops grabbing a dude. They're like, what the hell do you have in your pants? What is this? It's like, bro, that's my dick. Oh, my bad. And they've already like rubbed you, violated you and all this shit like that. And then if you resist, like if the cops pull your pants down and they're grabbing and tugging on your dick and you're like, bro, what the fuck? Get off me and stop resisting. And all this shit sounds funny to you until it happens to you. There's nothing funny about this. But, you know what I mean? Like I said, this may not be the sexiest topic, but, hopefully it's provided some value to you guys. So I'm going to play a series of short videos and then I'm going to get ready to shut her down. I appreciate y'all for sticking through with this one. I know it may have ruffled some feathers and triggered some things in some people, but hopefully it's made you put your thinking caps on. So I'm going to go ahead and hit y'all with those visuals and then we will be out of here. So without further ado.
Yeah.
Hey.
shitting on them like doo-doo. I can't fuck with y'all like tofu. I'm just saying, man, like Goku. Bad bitches at the house with me watching Netflix or Roku. Fuck them both at the same time, and I swear to God it was so cool. Street legend, real boss, I call shots cause I'm still saucy. I know some G's to the bike crack on Chirac and fly back out to Milwaukee. When they hear me flow, they say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up. When you hear me flow, say I be burning up, burning up. Cookies to the draw is what we burning up, burning up. What you ain't know, oh, we burning up, burning up. This shit so hot, it's burning up. Just go ahead and turn this up.
Is that dude? You hear me? You feel me? Ooh, ooh, ooh. B-Eazy that dude, yeah. B-Eazy.
B-Eazy, B-Eazy, he is that dude. Ooh, he is that dude, B-Eazy, he is the one that you can call so he can get the job done. He about to reign supreme if you thought his run would soon end. He just getting started though, so go ahead and tune in. B-Eazy, B-Eazy, he is that dude. Ooh, 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 he is that dude.
If you feel the vibe, like, share, and subscribe. We growing on this journey. Come and take a ride. If you wanna slide with that dude, be easy. We going all the way to the top, believe me. All the way to the top, believe me.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Follow. Be easy. You know you want to.
Well, we're waiting.